and welcome back to Vlogmas. Today we're in the kitchen and I am going to make one of my favorite drinks of all time, Yule Wine, or glug, it's also called. This is one of my favorite things to consume this time of year. However, big however, I don't always want it with alcohol in it, especially during the week after I come home from a long day outside or at work. Like, the last thing I want to do is to have alcohol and just wake up super dehydrated because it is so dry outside that I don't want to deal with it. So today I'm going to make my version of non-alcoholic Yule Wine. There's two things that I want you to focus on when you make a non-alcoholic craft cocktail at home, and that is, number one, alcohol has a flavor. Don't try to replicate it, just focus on the main ingredients and really start to bring out those flavors and tones through a cocktail instead of running after alcohol flavor, because you're probably still gonna run after it. And two is that this is gonna be my version of Yule Wine, the NA edition, because I love certain drinks and flavor profiles that I don't get to enjoy in regular alcohol versions of different cocktails. So in my opinion, a really good cocktail really starts with your non-alcoholic version. If you can master the flavors, the way that everything comes out and brightens up as it crosses your palate, then when you go to add alcohol, perhaps in the future, you know for a fact you have a solid base for your craft cocktail, and then you know that you're in a really good spot before you add in your spirits. In case you didn't know, I have almost 2 decades of craft cocktail bartending experience, as well as helping manage a research and development team for a really popular distillery here in the Midwest. And that is really where I got to play around with a lot of rare ingredients, and I really got to hone in my palate as well as craft cocktail skills. So when I say that I always started a really good cocktail with the non-alcoholic version, I completely mean it, because if you can't make it good NA and it just tastes like orange juice or cherry juice or coffee straight up with some seasonings that were just kind of thrown in and not really well integrated, it's not going to be good as an alcoholic drink either. So this is the cherry Yule Wine from Aldi. I do also want to say that I'm making this non-alcoholic Yule Wine all from ingredients from Aldi. I also want to let you know I picked up almost all of these ingredients except for one, actually 2, from Aldi, my local Aldi. And I might have spent $20 on this, so this is definitely something more craft cocktail. However, you can make a banging drink for really cheap, so that's what we're going with. All right, let's talk about the ingredients really quick. So instead of having a dry red wine as your base, I'm actually choosing a Tart cherry pomegranate juice. So this one is the superfood organic juice from Simply Nature. Obviously Aldi, it's the pink label one. This has a lot of intense flavors in it. There's a lot of tartness and tanginess from the cherry. So when they say tart cherry, it's because they put citric acid in it, there, and it's probably made from lemons. Good to know. There's a little bit of pomegranate and cherries in here as well, but I think this is going to be an excellent base for our non-alcoholic Yule Wine. The next ingredient is going to be all of your seasonings, your mulling spices. So some people add star anise. I'm not a fan of licorice from the States. I do like Swedish licorice, a very special salty black one. But for the most part, I'm not a big star anise fan, so we're going to skip the star anise. And I'm actually going to have you substitute black peppercorns. If you don't have, or if you have black peppercorns, that's great, but I'm actually going to use white pepper. This is a lot softer. I think it's not as intense of a sharpness, if that makes any sense. If you can find this at your local Jewel, awesome. Otherwise, just use your basic black peppercorns. The next ingredient that you're going to want to use is cinnamon sticks. And yes, these are from Aldi. They always have them this time of year, which is really great. You only need a couple of cinnamon sticks, maybe 2 or 3, and you're fine. And of course, last but not least, cloves. This adds a lot. You're only going to need like a couple of these. I might have gotten this particular one from Jewel. However, I have seen them whole at Aldi. One really important thing I want to stress when it comes to all of your mulling spices is that get the whole ingredients. Do not substitute the powdered because it leaves this weird residue in the bottom, not just of the pan, but also the bottom of your glass. And then when you sip the last parts of it, you're just stuck with all kinds of stuff on your tongue, and it's weird. It's gross. It gets stuck between the teeth. Just don't do it. Trust me. For sweetness, because this is Tart, we have our super rich seasonings and spices. You're gonna want to pick either honey. I picked up regular clover honey, or you can do the dark raw blue agave. Again, these are both found at Aldi. I do like the raw agave. You gotta be careful though on how fast it comes out of the bottle because you don't want to suddenly end up with like over sweetness, because you can cut it with lemon, but you're not going to want to do that because then the bitterness comes out anyways. It's a whole bunch of, just be careful when you pour everything out of the bottle. And last but not least, you're going to need oranges. Now, a lot of people like to just use fresh orange slices. I've always dehydrated orange slices, but in today's cocktail, because we are not using alcohol as our base, I am going to keep these as fresh orange slice wheels for our non-alcoholic Yule wine. All right, so we roll up my sleeves, grab my knife and cutting board, and let's get to work. All right, so first we are actually going to have to toast our mulling spices. So we have cinnamon. You can use your black pepper. I'm going to use some leftover white pepper. And we're going to use some cloves. And that's it. So we're going to put it in the bottom of a pan. If you have a simmering pan, excellent. All right, so now we gotta check on the spices that have been searing just in the bottom of a plain pan. So as you can see, they have not turned any kind of char yet, and that's not what you want. So you just wanna give them like a little toss-a-roo around, because remember, we wanna heat these seasonings or spices up first. I have the heat on medium, but we don't want them to char. So it's always good to keep an eye out. You never know how, you know, every pan and every oven is, or every pan and stove is very finicky. It has its own personality. So just be sure to keep an eye on it. You're looking for warm, you're not looking for burnt. All right, so I'm just gonna rock the pan back and forth, just like this, just to kind of make sure that none of the seasonings are sticking to the bottom, of course. And it smells so good in here, let me tell you. Once the cloves and kind of like are kind of loose, then you know you're ready to start adding your liquids. So we're just about there. All right, so I'm hearing the white peppercorns pop and we know it's ready. So you're gonna go ahead and just shake up your tart cherry juice and just dump it all in. Just like that. Excellent. We're gonna add a little bit of water So I'm one of those cooks who always eyes everything up. So I just use the bottom of the label because remember, as you simmer, you're gonna have a lot of evaporation. So you wanna make sure that you account for that. So we're gonna add just a tiny bit of water. That was maybe 3/4 of a cup. All right guys, don't hate me, but I am adding a tiny little hint of Gala apple cider. We picked this up at Jewel, and I'm adding it just for a little splash. You'll see it's so tiny, but I'm adding a little bit for sweetness, but not too much, right? I am gonna take my blue raw agave, raw blue agave. I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons right now, and then we're gonna try it before we put too much in, right? You can always add some to it, but you can't take away. So we're just gonna clean off that little spoon there. All right, and we're gonna let it simmer. All right, so we have a reaction happening in the pan, and I wanna let you see it first. So we have some little bit of separation. I'm not sure if you can tell. There are some lighter parts and darker parts. You always want to make sure that if you start seeing the separation, it's time to stir. It smells so good in here. So we have the separation happening in the pot. I'm stirring it occasionally just so that nothing kind of separates too much. There's no kind of like burning or extra sugars kind of being settled on the bottom. And I think we can start adding some orange slices. So I'm gonna go ahead and add 3. Right, so it's been about 4 minutes, definitely less than 5, and we have a lot of action in the pot, so let me show you. Quite a bit of little bubbles starting, and we have a lot of physical action happening. Amazing. We want to bring this up to a soft simmer because we want to make sure that all of the seasonings and spices kind of get to know each other. So go ahead and take your spoon, give this baby a swirl. We are at a rolling boil, so it is time to turn off the fire. So I'm just gonna let this set and cool for a little bit. We wanna let all of the spices get to know each other, as well as the fresh orange slices. And the bells you hear on the background is Auku, of course. Yes, she is in her little reindeer outfit. Do you want to say hi? You gonna say hi? Yes. You're a good girl. No, absolutely not. So after this cools off, all we have to do is transfer into a vessel so that it can completely finish cooling off. I'm gonna try it while it's still a little bit warm, obviously put it in a safe mug, but if you put it in a vessel and stick it in the fridge, it's gonna be fine for a couple days. So that's why I like making this little bits, small amounts at a time so that it stays fresh and I don't have to worry about it going bad in the refrigerator during the week. All right, I think it's ready to serve. It looks so good. Of course, it doesn't look like a whole lot, but trust me, it smells incredible in here. I think it's gonna be amazing. So I have my non-alcoholic Yule wine. Now all there's left to do is try it. It is hot, but it is really, really good. I love how it has like a slight bitterness to it. It has a lot of seasonings to it. It's very complex. Like I said, if you have actual Yule wine, you want to make sure that you kind of replicate all those intense seasonings and spices, and I think we definitely did it. This is really, really good. It definitely reminds me a lot of what you get at the Christkindl markets, as well as just, I don't know, like I know there's no alcohol in here, but there's so much flavor, and that's really what you want. Let me know if you make it and what you think of it in the comments below, because I really want to know. I think it's fantastic. I'm very, very pleased. I wasn't too sure about all of the seasonings and spices, but I always have to remember it's that one little phrase that I always use when it comes to seasoning my food, and that is always use a little bit more than you think you should. And sure enough, it ends up turning out all the time. Thank you so much for watching this non-alcoholic Yule wine video tutorial. Let me know in the comments if you end up making it and what your thoughts are, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.